We don't know exactly why, but now we know.
Okay. We're going to go to the Shiva house. This is something that's more familiar to most of you. I think everyone here has probably been in a Shiva house, experienced a Shiva house. So we're just going to go relatively quickly through the Jewish process of mourning. Before I forget, I'm going to pass out a little bibliography here of books. The first three are handbooks for Jewish practices of mourning. The fourth, Kaddish, is a book about a man. Oh, you didn't get it up? Oh, I'm sorry. They're coming around the other side too, but here you go. The first three are handbooks. They are conservative, less conservative, and orthodox in order. And then Kaddish is a book about a man's experience of saying Kaddish over the year for his father. He's a newspaper journalist, I believe, originally by profession, so he's a very good writer. Many people enjoy that book. I have not read it, but it is on the list because many people recommend it to me. Then, when a grandparent dies, this is a workbook, drawing, writing for younger children who are processing death for the first time. There's a wonderful non-sectarian children's book called The Fall of Leo the Leaf by Leo Biscaglia, which is a wonderful book to read to very, very young children about death. And it takes the life cycle of a leaf on a tree until it falls into the comfort of the snow with the other leaves who have gone before. You will weep when you read it, and the kid won't know why you're crying, but it's a lovely book to kind of broach that topic of all lives come to an end and so forth. That's The Fall of Leo the Leaf, yes?
It's also a delightful book because I do a lot of mourning work with reading the work with kids and families. There's a wonderful book called Grandma Upstairs, Grandma Downstairs, and it's another one of those things where you read the Grandma Upstairs, Grandma Downstairs, and it's really for young children, like maybe up to third grade or so. Most.
Yeah. So when a grandparent, thank you, when a grandparent dies, is a workbook that's really good for kids in 1st to 3rd grade, maybe 4th, I would say. Leo the Leaf is for kids below 2nd grade, preschool through 1st. Jewish Views of the Afterlife, this is an intellectual book. This is a study of the history of the development of the teachings. So I've touched the tip of the iceberg. If you want to know where these teachings really come from and what the texts are and what they meant and what they mean, by all means, that's a great book for you to read. And then this one is by Neil Gaiman. I don't like it, but everybody else does. So who am I to say? The Death of Death by Neil Gaiman. And he was a professor at the seminary for many, many years.
He spoke here.
He spoke here a long time ago. It's been a long time ago now. He was a chairman of the Department of Philosophy at the Jewish Theological Seminary, and he talks through his own process to coming to belief in physical resurrection of the dead, no matter how unpopular that idea may be for modern Jews, and why it kind of makes sense. Resurrection and immortality, he deals with both of these things, the eternity of the soul and so forth. And it's a very good, modern, honest, and intellectual read on those two topics. So I give those to you as a bibliography if you want to do further reading. Now we're going to go into the Shiva house. Okay, so we're going to take it in order. Somebody dies. What do you do? Okay, calling the rabbi is a good thing. I have not figured out a system where my phone can, as a matter of guarantee, wake me when I'm asleep. I've tried everything, but with that 1 and 2 in the morning call, I got a 50-50 chance that you're going to get me or I'm not going to hear it. But I will get it by 5 in the morning when my alarm goes off, and I will call you back. If it's 1 in the morning and I get it, I will come. I will get up, I will get dressed, I will come. But I don't know that I'm going to get it. So unfortunately, that's just a weakness of the body. I am really hard to wake up.
That's a lesson.
It was great when the children weren't sleeping through the night because I was convinced they were.
At least until the next day.
Hang on. Okay, so yes, call the rabbi. When somebody is, you know that someone is dying, what normally happens now is you have somebody who is, for whatever reason, in the hospital or the nursing home, and they've said hope is done. As we spoke last week, we put out there whether or not you can stop giving life-continuing therapies and go for comfort care. We're going to continue that more next week, but the long and short of it is, you can know that death is coming. Hospice, it can be a mitzvah, and you are given a gift of time. Engaging the rabbi at that time is one of the things you do with that gift of time. The rabbi comes, and if the person is capable, I can say end-of-life prayers with a person who is dying. They can say prayers. Prayers for forgiveness, prayers of faith, prayers of hope. I have such prayers that I can help them to say. Sometimes this is said just me and that person alone in the room. I kick everybody out. I've had, the 40-year-old child who is not healthy around the concept of death with their 70-year-old parent who is completely healthy around the concept that they are dying. And the 40-year-old says, Rabbi, you can't say those prayers with that person. They'll lose hope. You'll be killing them. You can't, how can you do that? And they're like angry at me and everything else because I want to go in and say end-of-life prayers with their parent. That person I kick out of the room. That person cannot be here right now. So you need to let me have my own rabbinic relationship with your parent, and then I will come back and I'll have a rabbinic relationship with you. I don't say it that way, but that's what I do. And I go in and I sit with the person, and this person and I talk through some of the things that we just talked through. People who never believed in the world to come. They ask me about it again. Is it real? Rabbi, I don't believe. Do you believe? And my faith gives them strength. I do believe. And they say, well, that's comforting. I can't get there. And I said, and then I'll say if they're of the mind where I can, because I'm not morose when I'm with someone who's dying. I'm my normal self. I have a sense of humor and compassion, and I bring all that to the conversation. And from time to time I've said, well, you'll know before I do. I believe it. And in not too long from now, you'll know if I'm right, you'll know if you're right. You have reason to die optimistic. You can die optimistic. You can face this with some optimism that maybe, just maybe, there's more to life than this. And that doesn't mean that this was not important. In fact, this was much more important than the life in the world to come. This is the life you were given. This is the most important thing. But it may very well be that. So we do end-of-life prayers. The end-of-life prayers are the prayers you say on the last page of the Machzor every Yom Kippur. Adonai hu Elohim, Adonai hu Elohim, Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, and a prayer for forgiveness of sin, and a prayer for the protection of my loved ones whom I leave behind. That's the Vidui. It's the Deathbed Confession. We have a Deathbed Confession in Judaism. However, the Deathbed Confession does not really forgive you for things that you could have fixed in your own lifetime. You should have fixed those things in your own lifetime. But there is a piece of the prayer as well that says, may any of the suffering that I have endured be enough punishment for anything that I haven't fixed. We pray that. Surely I'm paying a price now. Can that be some of what I owe for the things that I didn't take care of? That's in there too.
Is it similar to Catholic last rites?
Well,
Is it the same kind of...
Yeah. Yeah. But Catholicism and Christianity have taken this concept and they've blown it up into Technicolor. That's Christ on the cross. May my suffering be a source of forgiveness. Right? They've taken it and they've blown it up onto a whole nother level.
Proxy.
For us, we do have this idea that if I'm suffering or have suffered, and I have stuff that I owe debt on, as far as my moral and ethical behavior in life, let this be a kapara, let this be an atonement, let this be like a Yom Kippur, let this be like a korban, let this be like a sacrifice, let this be like my tzedakah, let this be what I've given. Does it work? I don't know. We'll all know eventually. I don't know today, and I'm not in a hurry to find out. But we have these prayers that we do say, and they are a source of comfort. And on some level, they make some sense. All right, so that's the deathbed confession. If the person is not capable of saying these prayers, either psychologically or physically, they're comatose, I say the prayer with them, and I bring the family into the room. We hold their hand, we sing the Shema together. With the families that I'm able to have the timing to do this with, it's a lovely thing. If you don't do it, it's okay too. When I come and someone has already died, Rabbi's, my mother died, she's in the hospital, I come, and I'll say these prayers even though they've died. Next, you have to prepare for funeral. Jewish burial is not a denial of the physicality of the body. We consider the body to be sacred, like a Torah scroll is sacred. Torah scroll has the words of God in it, a body has divinity in it, and we treat it with respect. We don't mutilate it, we don't mar it, we avoid unnecessary autopsy. We look to bury the body quickly in the earth so that the body can become part of the earth again, because that's where it has value. Right? Your body, we use a hard word here, is valuable, if nothing else, as compost. You can give life back to the earth by giving your body in a wooden casket into ground. You can be productive in death. Right? And the world needs its resources to be recycled. That's the nature of life. And we don't deny that. And so we don't burn the body to ash where it is no longer physically useful for life. We don't bury the body in stone where it cannot be recycled into the earth. This is why traditional Jews, and I know there's a lot of Jews who disagree with me, traditional Jews won't go into a mausoleum. It doesn't do anything any good to put your body into a cupboard for all time. No good comes from that. Now, someone who's done that, I understand it's a loving thing, and there's memory there, and there's permanence, and your family can come and visit you indoors instead of outdoors. There's a nice little cushion. There's a lot of stuff that comes with that I know that is very appealing to people. But I'm talking about the body that has just died. That body still has a use, and that is to become part of the earth. And so that's what we do. And we do it quickly, and the body is sacred, so we don't want to delay 2, 3, 4 days and have the process of desiccation and decay begin without it being in the earth, because that's not nice.
Organ donation.
Organ donation is great. Organ donation for any life-saving, and I teach life-improving needs. There's plenty of stuff out there for science. You don't need to give your body for science unless you've got a disease that's unique and they need to study you to save lives, like a genetic abnormality in your family. By all means, whatever they need, they should take, and we bury the rest of you. Can you give a heart? Of course. Can you give corneas? Sure. Skin? Okay. Okay. I mean, any needed body parts, okay. They're not going to take a lot, probably. Right? But no unnecessary autopsy and no unnecessary delay. Necessary delay includes, you need to get the rabbi, so prayers can be said properly. You need to get one of the people who says Kaddish to the grave. So you got someone in Israel or in Nepal, and it's going to take 2 days to get them back here. Get them back. We'll wait 2. I've waited as long as 3. I really don't like to wait that 3rd day. Right? Let them join you at the Shiva. But waiting, the President of the United States will give the eulogy, but he can't come till Thursday. Okay. We'll wait. Because the honor to the dead is so great by that delay that they are not being diminished by the delay. Right? It's all about the honor of the dead and the need of the mourners to start their mourning. Okay? So that's what we do. Burial in the ground, burial in a wooden casket. For me, I want that really, really, really inexpensive, unfinished, unsanded, wooden peg, cheap pine box. That's what I want. Death is ugly. That's what I want. I want that because I know bugs like untreated wood. And I want to feed the earth. That's what I want. I don't want barriers between me and that. And my family can understand the reality of wood. And, you know, a $10,000 polished mahogany casket may be kosher, but not for me, thank you very much. Please give that money to my grandchildren's college fund. That's me. That's just me. Judaism requires wood in the ground. I want it to be what I've said. And so I like the, you know, any funeral home is great, and I'm not like criticizing funeral homes. I like the Jewish Memorial Chapel in Clifton because they're simple, and they're kosher, and they're a nonprofit, and whatever profit they make, they give back to the religious schools of the synagogues who are part of them. Right? So they're less expensive and all that. That's where I'm going. It's also right next to King Solomon. Right? Which, presuming we're having this conversation, that's where I'll wind up one day. Right? Okay. So that's burial. At the graveside, there is a custom. There's no Kaddish at the funeral service in the chapel or anything like that. Kaddish is only after burial. From the time someone dies to the time of burial, you are an onen. You are not a full mourner. You can get a haircut. You can go finish up at work. You can pay some bills. You can drive around. You can do whatever you have to do to get back and get ready for the funeral. Okay? Once burial has occurred, you're a mourner. There are 7 mourners. A mother, a father, a brother, a sister, a husband, a wife, or a child. Mother, father, brother, sister, husband, wife, child. Those are the mourners. Nobody else has a Kaddish obligation. You don't have to say Kaddish for a grandparent, or a step-parent, or a cousin, or a dog. Those 7 relationships are the Kaddish relationships. They're the ones who have the primary mitzvah for burial, the primary mitzvah for mourning. Everyone else, your mitzvah is those people. Right? So if you're a grandchild and your parent is the mourner, I know you want to put on a ribbon and you want to be a mourner with everyone else because you lost your grandparent, but the truth is, your parent lost their parent. And your parent is your mitzvah. Right? So you can say Kaddish and all those things, but don't wear the ribbon and don't stay home. You're the one who's got to go to the store, and you're the one who's got to pay the bills, and you're the one who's got to cut the lawn, and you're the one who's... That's your mitzvah. So you're not a mourner. Right? A son-in-law is not a mourner. A daughter-in-law is not a mourner. Your spouse is your mitzvah in their mourning. Right? And that's a burden. It's a burden to be the family who has to care for the person who's the mourner, but that's a sacred burden. The mourner should not do anything. Anything. They shouldn't push the button on the coffee pot. They shouldn't do anything. They shouldn't answer the door. They shouldn't run an errand. They just stay home. And if you get claustrophobic, go upstairs and take a nap. You know, you don't have to be down there. A mourner does not entertain people in a shiva house. The mourner should not be worried of who's coming and going from the front door and keeping the conversation rolling. And tell me about you, and how are you, and can I get you something? Well, I go into these mourners homes, particularly the older generation, where you have the hostess, right? The hostess. Phyllis did this to me. I said, you did this to me. I came into your home and you offered me, like, can I get you something to drink?
No, I didn't.
Yes, you did.
I had water.
You offered me water.
Well, I had contact. It was the hottest day of the summer. I had a pitcher of water at home.
Rabbi, can I get you some water? What, you can't offer me coffee? No. You're not supposed to, I'm just having fun with you, Phyllis. You're not supposed to do anything for anyone else. Everyone does everything for you. Okay? So when you walk in, you're not supposed to demand anything from the mourner. You're there to support them. So you're not supposed to demand anything from them, including their attention. So when you walk into the house, don't walk right over to the mourner and say, "Hi, Joe, I'm here." Because you're doing that for them to say, "Thank you for coming. That is so good of you to come." You're doing it for your own needs. There's something selfish about being a good person. Right? And we want to be really careful. Just come into the house. The first place I usually go when I come into the house is the kitchen.
Why?
Because it's usually dirty.
Huh?
It's dirty.
Oh.
People have been helping themselves to things and leaving things lying around. And that's the place that the mourner is most likely to be caring for other people. And I'll go over the coffee, and if there's some papers and stuff around, I'll clean them up, and I'll put them in a cup, and I'll throw them away, and I'll get myself a cup of coffee, maybe. I'll see who's there, I'll look around, I'll kind of eyeball where all the mourners are, so I'm aware of them. If someone's missing, I might ask a family member, "Hey, where's Joe?" "Oh, he had to go home," whatever. I'm just trying to figure out what the situation is. And then eventually I'll move over near the mourner, and if they're standing and talking, I'll stand and they'll see me and they'll say, "Hi, Rabbi, it's so good of you to come." If they're sitting, I'll just sit somewhere near them and wait. And if they choose to talk to me, they talk to me, and then I'll answer them. But I'm not going to wait my turn and try and interject into a conversation. If they're having a conversation, they don't need me. I'll wait. I'll sit. I'll talk to someone else. If they need me, that's why I'm here. And they'll let me know. Right? So I'm paying a Shiva call. I'm visiting a friend. I'm going to the Shiva house to be of support. Taking out the garbage is a really good way to do that. Right? If the garbage can's at the curb when I get there because it was garbage day and the can's empty, I bring it in. If it's winter and the walk's not shoveled, guess what I do? Shovel it. Now, it's a little difficult because if they look out and they see the rabbi shoveling the walk, they might get embarrassed. So I try and do things that won't embarrass me. Right? Because I'm there to be supportive, I'm not there to be self-righteous. Look at me, I'm shoveling the walk. But I'm looking for very specific things that I can do in that house that are supportive. That's what I'm looking for. Right? That's your role in the Shiva house. And of course to make a minion. Now there are mystical traditions that teach that the soul of the dead continues to hover in the home they lived in for the week of Shiva, and only the saying of Kaddish over the week of Shiva releases the soul to the world to come. It's a lovely midrash. If it makes you come and make the Shiva house for 7 days, I'm not going to take it away from you. It's a Baba Maisa. You know what Baba Maisa is? It's a story. The soul doesn't hover. If the soul is a part of who you are when you die, it goes wherever it's going, it's gone. I don't believe that souls haunt places. That's not my belief. I could be wrong. I might wind up haunting all of you to convince you that I was wrong on this topic. I love the idea that the Kaddish has an impact, that the Kaddish is helpful to the person who has died. I know the Kaddish is helpful to the person who's alive. I know the Kaddish is helpful to the community that is making the minyan. I know the Kaddish is helpful to the synagogue that can maintain a schedule of morning and evening minyanim for its members. I know these things. I don't need to believe them. I believe the Kaddish is helpful in the world to come. Because I believe the Kaddish is a connection between us and the souls of those who have died, and a connection between us and them and God together as a unity. I believe these things. That's faith. So I believe the Kaddish matters. How does it matter? I'm not entirely sure. There is one tradition about why we say Kaddish for a parent for 11 months and a day, or some people say 11 months minus a day. And that's because you're supposed to say Kaddish for 12 months. There's a tradition in Judaism that even a bad person gets favorable judgment in the world to come if they have a child who says Kaddish every day for a year, because even if they were bad, look what they produced. They can't be all bad. They produced a child who said Kaddish for a year, and the judgment will go good for them. Then with rabbinic thinking we say, if 12 months of Kaddish helps your bad parent get into the world to come, then if you say Kaddish for 12 months, you're saying they need it. And so we only go 11 months in a day because my parent doesn't need it to get into the world to come, but I'm committed and ready to do the 12 months. So that's why we do that. I love us.
Every time you
Lois.
talk- I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I haven't talked this much my whole life in a group ever.
Go ahead.
Every time you talk about...
Joel, you win the prize. I've been a rabbi for 20
The alarm is
years.
off, this is a message.
I've been a rabbi for 20 years, and that's the record in one
The alarm
place.
is off, this is a message. It makes a noise.
Every time you
Don't be frustrated.